So Manchester United are looking out of it, but they're looking out of possession as well, especially under this new manager from Southampton called Ivan Juric. I think he's a really possession-heavy based manager, and Manchester United are going to be facing against the Saint Marys, and on this Friday night, and it's going to be really tough for Southampton. Could be tough for Manchester United as well because they're a team which look to be out of possession most of the time, and Southampton has changed a lot after Russell Martin's departure, especially considering that they've been a lot more in possession and like to play a lot more with the ball. So they're the kind of team that's going to be having the ball a lot, of course, and a lot of good players in the Southampton squad, such as Tyler Dibling. He's one of the best youngsters, I believe, for Southampton, and arguably one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, who's very underlooked. He's a good ball carrier. He carries the ball a lot, of course, into the forward areas of the pitch, and he's got really good numbers on stats as well. Ex-Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale, who didn't really perform up to the mark in the reverse fixture where Rashford scored a brace. United won 3-0, and they've got players like Ben Brennan Diaz, who's, I believe, he's a left winger or a right winger. He's a pretty good winger from La Liga. He's pretty good too, and Leslie Ugochukwu. He's also on loan from Chelsea. He's a pretty good midfielder. Although I don't, maybe he might start alongside Tyler Dibling. Although he did play in a more forward area for Southampton in the previous game that he did feature for, and you've got good experience for Southampton, considering that they have Adam Lallana as well. You've got a good striker in Adam Armstrong, who's of course pretty good. You've got one of the best strikers that Leeds United, the championship team, were looking to sign, which was Cameron Archer as well. That's like those are pretty good names in the Southampton squad who can really carry the ball and progress the ball pretty forward. I think this game is going to be mostly Southampton having the ball and United breaking on the counter. It's pretty how do you say it? It's not really considered amongst a lot of fans that Southampton, a team which is in the bottom of the league, well, so is United, but realistically speaking, Southampton being on the bottom of the league and having the ball with them a lot, usually teams which are sitting at the bottom half of the table or are in the relegation zone, they don't really play with the ball that much. They're more like a counter based team. But Southampton under this new manager has changed things around, of course, playing a very similar formation like Manchester United's, which is, I think it's 3-4-2-1. That's similar to how Manchester United plays with what they have. But yeah, that's what I think about Southampton, and that's what they're going to play. Talking about Manchester United, I think Manchester United are going to be having a little issues on maybe the right hand side or left hand side, depending on where Nusayr Mazraoui is playing, because Diego Dalot did pick up a red card, which means he misses out on this match against Southampton, and it's not really something that's going to be considered as a very dangerous or marking it down for Manchester United factor. But I think it's something to consider that you're not going to have those many crosses or forward runs if you don't have Diego Dalot on your team. But I think maybe that could be replaced with either Garnacho or Amad Diallo on the right. But as Ruben Amorim said on his last interview for Manchester United, that a lot of players need rest because they've exceeded the amount of 120 minutes, which is of course a lot for the players, and considering that they didn't get enough time in the training sessions as well. And while training in the session, of course, so they didn't really have much to train or get much rest. So I believe there's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of changes for the Manchester United squad, and you're going to see a lot of rotation as well. From the goalkeeper, of course, perspective, I do think Andre Onana is going to start. Altay Bayindir did a really good job for Manchester United in the FA Cup third round against Arsenal, which was good. But looking at the three centre backs, I think either is going to be Maguire is definitely not going to be playing because he put up a really good performance, and from what I heard, he did pick up a knock or something, and there's a slight chance that Matthias Delict might not play, and we might have Johnny Evans and Lenny Yoro making a starting comeback for Manchester United. Victor Lindelof, I think he's had a muscle injury for Manchester United and won't be available to play for Manchester United. So that's going to be the three centre backs, you know, pairing that's going to be for Manchester United. Or maybe we could see Casemiro playing in the centre back area, but I don't think Ruben Amorim is preferably going to prefer someone who's particularly going to be playing on that front over there, like a central defensive midfielder as a centre back. I don't think he's going to be preferring that unless you don't really have those many centre backs, which Manchester United should be looking at in this transfer window, but aren't due to PSR reasons. But yeah, of course. But I do think Martinez is going to start on the left hand side. Euro is a candidate who's probably going to start. I think a couple of the centre backs are going to be rested for this game. Um, and as for the midfielders, I do think there's going to be a switch. Ugarte is someone who's definitely going to start. I think Meno could be given a rest. So instead of Meno, we could have. I do think it's a tough choice between either Casemiro or Eriksen. But as well, you saw in the Newcastle game, you cannot play Casemiro and Christian Eriksen both at the same time because you cannot make those progressive heavy runs into the frontal areas of the pitch because it's, of course, those players are out of their depths and they're in shallow waters currently for Manchester United of being sold to either Saudi or any other teams, and they are pretty old to be playing in the Premier League currently because of their physical disadvantages, which is of being old. So I don't think it's going to be Ugarte alongside maybe Eriksen because Eriksen can provide a lot more width and crossing options. So I think that's going to be really beneficial for Manchester United, especially on the break, because as I've said, Southampton do have this habit, especially after getting this new manager, that they do have this habit of keeping the ball more, being a more possession heavy team than how they used to under Russell Martin. So I think this is definitely something to consider for Manchester United and the fans, that you're not going to be having the ball much and you're going to be playing on the counter again, especially against a team which is considered or known to be playing a low block. But yeah, this shouldn't be an excuse for Manchester United to get a draw because they really need a victory to clench up to the higher spots. If that is Tottenham lose against Arsenal in the North London derby, which is I think in a couple of days. And yeah, I mean, I think Manchester United need this win and it should be an easy win. They can't be dropping points or getting 1 point or maybe 3 points. Um, Something that a lot of influencers or maybe a lot of YouTubers have mentioned, especially the likes of Lawrence McKenna, who's a Liverpool fan, has mentioned that Manchester United really need to have that winning mentality, and it it's just down to the players and the fact that a lot of those players and people know in the Manchester United squad that this could be their last season for Manchester United, as you could see for Marcus Rashford, or maybe even those Garnachos or Menos or like Ericssons or whatever. All of these players know it could be the last moment to shine against these big so-called clubs and to give a huge final big send-off performance against them. They've managed to beat City, dominate Liverpool, controversially dominate Liverpool, and then beat Arsenal as well, while being able to maintain the ball a lot and defending pretty well after Diego Dalot got sent off in the FA Cup. But yeah, I think even against smaller teams like Southampton, Manchester United need to consider to get those points, get 3 points to maybe clench to. I think they're on 14th. They're gonna have to reach. I think they'll get to 13th by the end of this week, possibly. They do play Brighton in the weekend, which is I think it's going to be a tough game. So maybe a draw, but getting aside from all of these things, I think Manchester United, of course, should be aiming for a victory against Southampton. But I'm not saying that is going to be easy because Manchester United do like to play with the ball a lot, as Ruben Amorim has mentioned in many of his interviews. So I think it's just down to how much United can maintain the ball and or maybe just work on the counter, because Southampton is they're the way how they're pressing is pretty good as well. I mean, they're moving forward with the ball, kind of playing like Tottenham Hotspurs. Like their way of defending is actually attacking, like pressing forward and um, trying to lose, making the opposition lose the ball a lot. So I think that's one aspect, or that's one area that Manchester United need to look forward to. Moving aside from all of these things, I was talking about the playing 11. So yeah, the back three is probably going to be Euro Martinez, probably Evans if he's fit to play, or if not, then maybe Matthias de Ligt. Onana is of course going to be the keeper. Midfielders, I'm going with Manuel Ugarte and Ericsson. Think Kobe Menu is going to be rested. There's no other backup options. Unfortunately, Mason Mount is still injured. That's two midfield options. The two wider options. Uh, I think if United do really want to play on the break, then I mean Malacia is linked to being sold. So I do think. Um, I think possibly on the right they're gonna have someone like Amad Diallo starting, because Garnacho already did start. So I think Garnacho is gonna be on the left. Garnacho is gonna be on the right, and Hussein Mazraoui is gonna be starting on the left. And that's the way how they're gonna be, performing or moving forward with the ball. And as for the two midfield options, I think it's going to be Bruno Fernandes and Joshua Zirkzee. A really controversial call that Zirkzee is going to be starting, but I do think Zirkzee does have a pretty good chance of starting for Manchester United. Um, and as for the striker role, it's of course going to be Hoyland. There is a slight or good chance that Marcus Rashford could be on the bench, because of course there's no Diego Dalot for this match because he's been suspended, of course, and the likes of Victor Lindelof, Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, possibly Amad Diallo, or maybe possibly Harry Maguire, or maybe Johnny Evans are probably going to be injured or not available for this match, because I did hear that he did pick up a knock, Harry Maguire, in the last game. So yeah, that's how I think Manchester United are going to be lining up, and that's how I think they're going to be playing. And really, it's just down to how Manchester United, how badly they want this, because Manchester United are a team which are winning against the bigger teams, but aren't really particularly winning against the smaller clubs, or the ones that they should be getting those 3 points against. So it's a bit of a mentality issue in the Manchester United squad, which needs to be fixed, which I do think is slowly and gradually getting better, because Amorim has given that straightforward agenda, or that message to the Manchester United fan base and the players through Marcus Rashford, as using him as an example to say that it's not an excuse. I mean, just because you're not playing well doesn't mean you're not going to be starting every game, or maybe getting to play every game. So that's why he's benched Rashford, and of course that's a really good reason to be benching him. And once Rashford made that statement in that interview saying that I think I'm ready for a new challenge, and there will be no hard feelings for me once I leave Manchester United. And after that, of course, Ruben Amorim did remove him from the squad temporarily, saying that he does want the best players to be on the bench or even starting for Manchester United, which is of course true. You need the best players fit and available to play for Manchester United to get those crucial points that they need to make those get into the top half the table, or maybe not. I don't think the Champions League is pretty realistic, but at least the top six to get the European, the Europa League spot. So yeah, that's how I think Manchester United are going to be playing against Southampton, and that's how I think how Southampton are going to be playing, of course. And yeah, that's about it for the video, and hope you guys enjoyed. And do subscribe to the channels on Instagram and YouTube. It's Football Fanatic 003 on Instagram and Football Fanatic on YouTube. Please do subscribe, and much love to all of you guys, and thanks for watching. Yep.